The grand chamber of the Galactic Council stretched across what seemed like endless space. 12 massive seats formed a circle around a central platform, where representatives would stand to address the most powerful beings in the known galaxy. Each seat held a member of the ancient species that had ruled the stars for thousands of years. The walls shimmered with technology so advanced it appeared almost magical, displaying star maps and data streams from across 1,000,000 worlds. Taemin stood on the platform, his hands clasped behind his back. He wore the simple blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps, plain compared to the elaborate robes and natural decorations of the aliens around him. Behind him stood Captain Jiwoo in her military dress uniform, and Chief Scientist Hana carrying a small data case. The three humans looked tiny in the massive chamber built for creatures much larger than themselves. The Vrexian Elder, a massive reptilian creature named Thexvor, leaned forward in his seat. His scales caught the light and made rainbow patterns across his body. When he spoke, his voice boomed through the chamber like thunder. Ambassador Taemin of Earth, you have requested an emergency session of this council. We have granted your request, though we wonder what could be so urgent. Your species has only been a member for 70 years. Surely you understand that the council has existed for over 50,000 years. We have seen countless emergencies. Several of the other council members made sounds that might have been laughter. The Luminari, beings made of living crystal that glowed with inner light, chimed with sounds like breaking glass. The Ethan, floating clouds of intelligent gas contained in force fields, swirled in their seats with what appeared to be amusement. Taemin waited patiently for the sounds to die down. He had expected this reaction. Humanity had always been treated like children by the council. Every suggestion they made was dismissed. Every innovation they proposed was called dangerous or unnecessary. Every complaint was met with condescension and empty promises of future consideration. Honored members of the Galactic Council, Taemin began, his voice steady and clear. I come before you today not to request aid or to lodge a complaint. I come to inform you of a decision that humanity has made after careful consideration over many years. Another council member, a being that looked like a floating jellyfish made of pure energy, pulsed with colors that their translation devices turned into words. A decision? Your species makes many decisions, young human. Most of them are corrected by this council's wisdom. Speak plainly. What trade route do you wish to access? What technology do you want us to share? What territorial dispute needs our judgment? Taemin took a deep breath. This was the moment that would change everything. None of those things, honored members. Humanity has decided to withdraw from the Galactic Council effective immediately. We are formally resigning our membership, and will be removing all human presence from council space within the next standard year. The silence that followed was absolute. For several long seconds, not a single being in the chamber moved or spoke. The data streams on the walls seemed to freeze. Even the ever-present hum of the chamber's technology seemed to pause. Then chaos erupted. Thexvor's roar shook the platform beneath Taemin's feet. Withdraw, resign. This is impossible. No species has ever left the council. The luminaries' chiming became discordant and harsh. This must be some kind of negotiation tactic. Humans are known for their emotional decision-making. Clearly you are upset about something and think this dramatic gesture will force us to give you what you want. A spider-like creature with 12 legs and compound eyes clicked its mandibles rapidly. The protection of the council is absolute. Without us, your species would be destroyed within a decade. Raiders, hostile species, natural disasters. You need us. More voices joined in, creating a wall of sound that would have overwhelmed most beings. But Taemin simply stood there waiting. Captain Jiwoo and Scientist Hana remained still beside him, their faces showing no emotion. Finally, Thexvor raised one massive claw, and the chamber fell silent again. Ambassador, surely you understand what you are suggesting. The Council provides trade routes that have made your species wealthy. We share technology that has advanced your civilization by centuries. We offer military protection that keeps your world safe. We even allow you to colonize planets in Council space. Why would you throw all of this away? Taemin nodded slowly. We understand exactly what we are giving up, Elder Thexvor, and we have decided it is worth the cost. This is not a negotiation. This is not an emotional outburst. This is a formal declaration that has been approved by every government on Earth and every human colony. Captain Jiwoo, if you please. Jiwoo stepped forward and placed a small crystal on the platform, It projected a hologram showing thousands of pages of documents all bearing official seals and signatures. This data crystal contains our formal withdrawal notice, prepared according to every regulation in the Council Charter. All legal requirements have been met. All procedures have been followed. Our withdrawal is completely legal and binding. The Council members stared at the documents in disbelief. The Ethan swirled violently in its containment field. But why? Give us a reason, at least. Taemin looked up at the massive being surrounding him. Because we have learned that sometimes the greatest gift is not what you are given, but what you build yourself. We thank the Council for the years we have spent under your guidance, but humanity needs to find its own path now. Thexavor's eyes narrowed. You will regret this decision. The galaxy is dangerous for those without friends. Come back to us in 10 years begging for readmission, and we will remember this insult. That is your right, Elder, Taemin said calmly. We wish the Council continued prosperity and peace. Goodbye. The three humans turned and walked toward the exit. Behind them, the Council chamber erupted into arguments and shouting. But Taemin did not look back. None of them did. They had delivered their message, and now there was work to do. Humanity was leaving, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Council chamber remained in chaos for hours after the humans left. Thexavor tried to call for order, but for the first time in thousands of years, the Council members ignored him. They shouted at each other across the circular chamber, their various forms of communication creating a storm of noise that the translation system struggled to process. A tall, thin being with 6 arms and silver skin finally managed to speak loudly enough to be heard. This is clearly a bluff. The humans are trying to force us to improve their trade agreements. We simply ignore this tantrum and wait for them to realize their mistake. The Luminary representative, a crystal being named Crescital, flickered with annoyed colors. I agree. Humans are emotional creatures. They make decisions based on feelings rather than logic. In a few months, when their economies start to suffer, they will return and apologize. But not everyone was so confident. A council member who resembled a floating mass of tentacles spoke in a bubbling voice. Did you see their faces? Those 3 humans showed no doubt, no fear. I have studied human expressions for decades, and I saw only determination. What if they are serious? Thexvor slammed his claw on the arm of his seat, creating a sound like thunder. Of course they are serious. Humans always think they are serious. But seriousness does not equal wisdom. Let them leave. Let them struggle alone in the galaxy. They will learn that the Council's protection is not something to throw away. A small flying creature that looked like a cloud of insects spoke in a buzzing voice. We should send diplomats immediately. Offer them better terms. Make them understand that we value their membership. Absolutely not, Thexvor growled. If we negotiate now, every other junior species will think they can threaten to leave whenever they want something. We must be firm. The humans will return when they realize their error, and we will accept them back, but only after they understand their place. Over the next few weeks, the Council watched with growing unease as humanity began to act on their declaration. Human colonies on Council worlds started evacuation procedures. Ships arrived and departed daily, carrying people and equipment back toward human space. Trade agreements were formally terminated with proper notice. Embassies closed their doors and diplomatic staff went home. Commander Hyun-woo coordinated the evacuation of the largest human colony in Council space, a world called Haven that humans had shared with 3 other species. The colony had 15 million human residents who had lived there for 40 years. The other species watched in confusion as humans packed up everything they owned and prepared to leave. A Vrexian merchant named Selvex confronted Hyun-woo at the spaceport. Where will you go? This is your home. Many of you were born here. Hyun-woo supervised the loading of cargo containers onto a massive transport ship. We are going to human territory in the Outer Rim. We have colonies there waiting for these people. The Outer Rim? Selvex's scales rippled with shock. That region is dangerous. Pirates, hostile aliens, unknown threats. The Council refuses to patrol there because it is too costly and dangerous. We know, Hyun-woo said simply. That is where we are going anyway. Engineer Yuna worked at the Joint Research Facility on Station Alpha, a massive space station where humans and aliens had worked together on various projects. She systematically shut down every human experiment, archived all data, and prepared everything for removal. Her alien colleagues watched in disbelief. A luminary scientist named Velsha approached her workstation. Yuna, please reconsider. We have been working on the quantum drive project for 8 years. We are so close to a breakthrough. If you take the human research data, the project will fail. Yuna carefully packed a data core into a secure case. I am sorry, Velsha, but this is human research created by human scientists. We are taking it with us. But the council funded this research. Velsha protested, their crystal body glowing with distress. The council funded 10% of this research, Yuna corrected gently. Humanity funded the rest. We are taking what is ours and nothing more. You may keep everything that belongs to the council. Similar scenes played out across council space. Humans were polite but firm. They followed every regulation, paid every fee, and honored every contract. But they were definitely leaving. The council called another emergency session 3 months after the human announcement. This time there were no humans present to hear their discussions. Thexfor addressed the gathered members. The humans have now evacuated 60% of their population from council space. Intelligence reports indicate they are moving to territories in the outer rim that we have deemed unsuitable for colonization. What are they thinking? The tentacled council member spoke thoughtfully. Perhaps they know something we do not. Our scouts reported unusual activity in those regions years ago, but we dismissed it as unimportant. A bird-like alien with brilliant feathers spoke in a singing voice. My trade consortium is already feeling the effects of human departure. They were our primary suppliers of agricultural products. Without their food shipments, several worlds face shortages. Then buy from other species, Thexfor said dismissively. There are no other species who produce as efficiently as humans, the bird alien replied, and those who do produce similar goods have raised their prices now that human competition is gone. The silver-skinned being with 6 arms added another concern. Human security forces have withdrawn from the border regions where they volunteered to patrol. Pirate attacks have increased 30% in those sectors. Thexfor waved a claw. Then we will assign council security forces to those regions. At what cost? The 6-armed being asked. The humans patrolled those areas as a courtesy, asking nothing in return. Assigning our own forces will be expensive. These are minor inconveniences, Thexfor insisted. Small prices to pay for maintaining council authority. The humans will return, and when they do, they will be grateful for any terms we offer them. But doubt had begun to creep into the minds of many council members. The humans were not acting like a species making an emotional mistake. They were acting like a species that had a plan. Every action was coordinated. Every departure was organized. Nothing was rushed or panicked. Kreshtal, the Luminari representative, spoke quietly. I reviewed the documents they left. Every legal detail was perfect. They cited regulations that most species do not even know exist. This withdrawal was planned for years, perhaps decades. They have been preparing for this moment for a very long time. The chamber fell silent as the implications of that statement settled over the council members. If the humans had been planning this for so long, what else had they been preparing? What were they building in the outer rim? And most importantly, why did they seem so confident about leaving? But pride prevented the council from asking these questions directly. Instead, they waited, certain that time would prove them right and the humans wrong. 1 year after the announcement, the last human ship departed from council space. Commander Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of the transport vessel Harmony, watching through the view screen as the border station grew smaller behind them. Behind his ship, a fleet of hundreds of vessels carried the final wave of human colonists back to the Outer Rim territories. All ships report ready for jump to hyperspace, reported the navigation officer. Course is set for the Kepler sector. Hyunwoo nodded. Take us home. The fleet disappeared in flashes of light, leaving council space empty of human presence for the first time in 70 years. On the border station, alien observers watched them go with mixed feelings. Some felt relief. Others felt a strange sense of loss they could not quite explain. In the Outer Rim, humanity had been busy for decades. While they had maintained a presence in council space, they had secretly been building something much larger in the territories the council had ignored. The Kepler sector, once empty except for pirates and debris, now hosted 17 thriving human colonies and, counting. Engineer Yuna supervised the construction of the newest shipyard in orbit around the planet that humans called New Sol. The massive facility stretched for kilometers, with hundreds of construction bays where new ships were being built. Unlike the ships humans had used in Council space, these vessels incorporated designs that the Council had forbidden as too experimental or dangerous. How is the quantum drive installation progressing? Yuna asked her assistant, a young engineer named Tae-young. Ahead of schedule, Tae-young reported with satisfaction. The new design is 30% more efficient than anything we built under Council regulations. It turns out those safety restrictions they insisted on were not about safety at all. Yuna smiled slightly. They were about control. Keep us dependent on Council technology. Make sure we never became too advanced. Dr. Sang-hoon worked in a research facility on the surface of New Seoul. The xenobiologist had spent years studying Council species, learning everything he could about their biology and technology. Now he led a team that was developing purely human innovations, free from Council oversight. He stood in a laboratory examining a new shielding system that his team had created. The energy shield flickered with a blue glow, and tests showed it could withstand impacts that would destroy Council shields. We should send samples of this to the Council, suggested one of his researchers, a woman named Bo-young. Show them what we have accomplished. Sang-hoon shook his head. Not yet. Let them wonder. Let them underestimate us. When the time comes, they will see what we have built, but that time is not now. The human territories in the Outer Rim looked nothing like Council space, where the Council built according to ancient traditions and strict regulations. Humans experimented and innovated. Cities rose on worlds that the Council had deemed unsuitable. Mining operations extracted resources from asteroids that the Council had ignored. And everywhere humans pushed the boundaries of what was possible. But the withdrawal was not without challenges. Pirates that had once avoided human patrols now attacked supply convoys. Hostile alien species that the Council had kept in check began probing human defenses. Natural disasters struck colonies that did not have Council emergency services to help them. Humanity adapted. Captain Ji-woo commanded the defense fleet that protected the growing human territories. Her ships were smaller than Council vessels but faster and more maneuverable. When pirates attacked a mining station near the border, her fleet responded within hours. Target the lead pirate vessel, Ji-woo ordered calmly. Disable their engines but do not destroy them. I want prisoners. The battle was short and decisive. Human weapons, developed without Council restrictions on power output, tore through pirate shields with ease. The pirates, expecting easy prey, found themselves outmatched and captured within minutes. Ji-woo had the pirate captain brought to her bridge. The alien, a large creature with 4 arms and armored skin, looked at her with surprise and fear. You are human? The pirate asked in disbelief. We heard your species left the Council. We thought you would be easy targets. You thought wrong, Ji-woo said coldly. Spread the word to your fellow pirates. Human space is not defenseless. Attack us again and we will not be so merciful. The Council sent scouts to observe human space, but they found nothing. The entire region had gone dark. Long-range sensors detected nothing useful. Communication signals were blocked by technology the Council did not recognize. Every attempt to send spy drones into human territory resulted in the drones disappearing without a trace. In the Council chamber, Thexivore reviewed the reports with growing frustration. How can an entire region of space simply disappear? What technology are the humans using? Kreshtal, the luminary representative, studied the data. Whatever it is, we have never seen it before. Either they developed it themselves, or they found something in the rim that we do not know about. Perhaps they have all died, suggested the 6-armed Council member hopefully. The rim is dangerous. Disease, hostile species, pirates. Maybe there is nothing to find because there are no humans left to find. But deep down, none of them really believed that. The human withdrawal had been too organized, too planned. These were not the actions of a species rushing toward destruction. 5 years after the withdrawal, Dr. Sang-hoon led a small delegation to the edge of Council space. They carried a cargo container filled with technology that humanity had received from the Council during their membership. Advanced weapons, defensive shields, medical equipment, and various other devices. A Council representative met them at the border, a Vrexian diplomat named Kekstar. Dr. Sang-hoon, why have you requested this meeting? Does humanity wish to discuss terms for rejoining the Council? Sang-hoon gestured to the cargo container. We are returning the technology that the Council provided to us during our membership. We no longer need it, and it would be improper to keep it. Kekstar's scales rippled with confusion. You are returning our gifts? But these items are yours. We gave them freely. Nothing was given freely, Sang-hoon said quietly. Every piece of technology came with restrictions, regulations, and expectations. We prefer to build our own tools now. Please accept these items back with our thanks for their temporary use. The Vrexian diplomat watched as the humans transferred the cargo and then departed without another word. He immediately sent a report to the council, noting that the humans had returned technology that was considered advanced even by council standards. They were acting as if they had something better. And in the secret shipyards, research facilities, and colonies of human space, that was exactly what they were building. Free from council restrictions and oversight, human innovation had exploded. Scientists pursued theories that the council had forbidden. Engineers designed ships that broke council regulations. Doctors developed treatments that the council had deemed too risky. Some experiments failed spectacularly. Without council safety nets, mistakes cost lives. Colonies struggled and some were abandoned. Ships were destroyed in testing accidents. But humanity learned from every failure and pushed forward. Commander Hyunwoo stood on the observation deck of humanity's largest space station, looking out at the fleet of new ships under construction. They bore no resemblance to council vessels. These were uniquely human designs, born from human creativity and human determination. "We are ready," he said to Captain Jiwoo, who stood beside him. "Whatever comes next, we are ready to face it on our own terms." Jiwoo nodded. The council wanted us to follow their path, walk where they walked, build what they built, but humanity was not meant to follow. We were meant to find our own way. In the darkness of the outer rim, away from council eyes, humanity was proving that the greatest achievements come not from following the wisdom of the ancient, but from having the courage to forge a new path. 10 years had passed since humanity left the council. In the Grand Chamber, the atmosphere had changed. The confidence that once filled every debate had been replaced with uncertainty. Problems that seemed minor at first had grown into serious concerns. A merchant representative from the bird-like species stood before the council, her feathers dull and drooping. The food shortage crisis continues to worsen. 3 more agricultural worlds have failed to meet production quotas. Prices have increased by 40% across council space. Before the humans left, they supplied 30% of our food through their efficient farming methods. We have not been able to replace that production. Thexivore shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Surely other species can increase their agricultural output. We have tried, the merchant replied. But human farming techniques were unique. They could grow food on worlds we considered unsuitable for agriculture. They used methods we did not understand. Without them, we simply cannot produce enough. The Luminari representative, Kreshtal, added another concern. Pirate attacks have increased by 300% in the border regions. The sectors that humans used to patrol are now the most dangerous areas in council space. Our own security forces cannot cover the same territory effectively. A floating jellyfish-like being pulsed with worried colors. It is more than just territory. The humans had a way of handling pirates that was different from our methods. They were unpredictable, creative. Pirates feared them in ways they do not fear our standardized security responses. Texivore's frustration was visible in the way his scales changed color. These are temporary problems. We will adapt and overcome them. The council has survived for 50,000 years. We will survive the absence of one junior species. But the problems continued to mount. Trade routes that humans had maintained fell into disrepair. Technology systems that human engineers had serviced began to fail. Even the simple task of communication became more difficult as human translators, who had a gift for learning languages quickly, were no longer available. The 6-armed council member spoke in a grave tone. "We have a larger problem. Our scouts sent to observe human space have not returned. 15 ships over the past 5 years. All disappeared without a trace." This announcement created a stir in the chamber. Loss of ships was serious. The council prided itself on having the most advanced vessels in the galaxy. How could they simply vanish? Admiral Dalrix, the military commander of the council forces, projected a star map showing the region where human territories were located. "We have tried every method to penetrate the sensor blackout around human space. Nothing works. We cannot see what is happening there. We do not know how many humans remain, what technology they possess, or what they are building." "Perhaps they are all dead," suggested one council member hopefully. The ships found nothing because there is nothing to find. That does not explain how our ships disappeared, Dalrix replied. Dead species do not capture scout vessels. Something intercepted our ships and prevented them from reporting back. Crescital glowed with a thoughtful light. I propose we send a diplomatic mission. Not scouts or spies, but an official delegation. If the humans have survived, we should establish contact. Perhaps enough time has passed that they would be willing to discuss rejoining the council. Many council members supported this idea. They imagined finding humanity struggling in the outer rim, grateful for contact with the council, eager to return to civilization. The council had been generous enough to let them leave. Surely they would be generous enough to let them return. Dexfor agreed reluctantly. Very well. We will send Ambassador Krenth with a small diplomatic vessel, make contact with humanity and assess their situation. If they wish to discuss rejoining the council, inform them that we are willing to consider their application. Ambassador Krenth was a tall, thin being from a species known for their diplomatic skills. He had negotiated treaties between hostile species and resolved conflicts that seemed impossible. As he prepared his ship for departure, he felt confident that he could handle a meeting with the humans. His vessel, the Peacemaker, was equipped with the most advanced council technology. It carried gifts and supplies to demonstrate council generosity. Krenth prepared speeches about cooperation and mutual benefit. He expected to find humans in need of help, perhaps even desperate for contact with the wider galaxy. The Peacemaker approached the border of human space slowly, broadcasting friendship signals on all frequencies. For several hours, there was no response. Krenth began to worry that the pessimists had been right, that there were no humans left to answer. Then his sensors detected a ship approaching. It was small, sleek, and moved with a grace that surprised him. The design was completely unfamiliar, bearing no resemblance to any council vessel or any human ship he remembered from before the withdrawal. A voice came over the communication channel, speaking in perfect council standard language. Unidentified vessel, you are approaching the border of the Human Federation. State your purpose. Krenth felt a moment of confusion. Human Federation? Not human territory or human space, but a federation? That implied organization and structure. He cleared his throat and responded formally. This is Ambassador Krenth of the Galactic Council aboard the diplomatic vessel Peacemaker. I request permission to enter human space and meet with your leaders to discuss matters of mutual interest. There was a long pause. Then the human voice responded, Ambassador, please maintain your current position. Someone will meet with you shortly. The small human ship came closer, and now Krenth could see it clearly. The design was elegant and efficient in ways that council ships were not. Its hull bore markings he did not recognize. His sensors tried to analyze its power systems and came back with readings that made no sense. The energy output was far higher than a ship that size should be capable of producing. A woman appeared on his view screen. She wore a uniform that was military in style but different from what council forces wore. Her name tag identified her as Pilot Minna. Ambassador Krenth, she said politely but firmly. I am authorized to meet with you here at the border. However, I cannot allow you to enter human space. Please state your message and I will relay it to the appropriate authorities. Krenth felt his diplomatic confidence falter slightly. I was hoping to meet with human leadership in person, to tour your facilities and see how humanity has fared these past years. Minna's expression did not change. That will not be possible, Ambassador. Human space is closed to council vessels. If you have a message, I will deliver it. If you wish to send supplies or assistance, I will accept them on behalf of humanity, but you may not enter our territory. This was not going as Krenth had expected. Pilot Minna, surely after 10 years some trust has been rebuilt. The Council wishes only to ensure that humanity is well, and to discuss potential future cooperation. Humanity is well, Ambassador, Minna replied. We thank the Council for their concern. However, we prefer to maintain our independence. We wish the Council no harm, but we also desire no renewed contact at this time. Behind Minna, Krenth's sensors picked up something that made his diplomatic composure crack. In the background, beyond the small ship, his long-range scanners detected massive structures. Space stations larger than anything the Council built. Ships of sizes that should not be possible. Installation after installation stretching across the system, all bearing that same unfamiliar but clearly advanced design. What are those structures? Krenth asked, unable to hide his shock. Minna glanced at her own screens, then back at him. Those are human installations, Ambassador. We have been busy during our time away from the Council. Krenth tried to gather more information. Your technology appears quite advanced. Have you discovered new alien allies in the Rim? Has another species been helping you? For the first time, Minna smiled slightly. We have made new friends, Ambassador. But the technology you see is human in origin, built by human hands and human minds, free from Council restrictions. That is impossible, Krenth said without thinking. In only 10 years you could not have advanced so far beyond Council technology. Minna's smile faded. With respect, Ambassador, humanity was advancing even before we left the Council. We simply were not allowed to show it. Now we are free to build as we choose. I will relay your greeting to our leadership. Is there anything else? Krenth realized the conversation was over. The humans were not struggling. They were not desperate for contact. They were thriving in ways he had not imagined possible. He tried one last time. If humanity ever wishes to rejoin the Council, we would welcome you back. You would be given a place of honor for surviving these difficult years alone. Minna nodded politely. I will pass that along, Ambassador. Now I must ask you to return to Council space. Goodbye. The human ship turned and accelerated away at speeds that Krenth's vessel could not match. He sat alone at the border, staring at the sensor readings of the massive installations in the distance, trying to understand how everything the Council believed about humanity had been so completely wrong. 20 years after humanity's departure, the galaxy faced a nightmare. The Devourer swarm emerged from the darkness between stars, just as the ancient records had warned. Every 50,000 years they came. Every time, they consumed entire civilizations before disappearing back into the void. The first warning came from an outer colony world. The distress signal was brief and filled with static. They are here. The machines, billions of them. We cannot hold. Tell the Council. Tell them the Devourers have returned. Then silence. The Council mobilized every ship they had. Thousands of vessels from dozens of species gathered to face the threat. Admiral Dalrix commanded the defense fleet from his flagship, a massive dreadnought that had never been defeated in battle. The swarm appeared like a plague of mechanical locusts. Individual units were small, barely larger than a human hand, but they numbered in the trillions, working together with terrifying coordination. They consumed everything they touched, breaking down matter and using it to build more of themselves. Ships, stations, even planets were stripped bare by their hunger. The first battle was a disaster. Council weapons, designed according to 50,000 years of tradition, barely slowed the swarm. The machines adapted to every attack, their technology learning and evolving in real time. For every 1,000 destroyed, 1,000,000 more took their place. World after world fell. Species that had existed for millennia were wiped out in days. The Council retreated again and again, unable to stop the advance. In the Grand Chamber, panic replaced the usual calm deliberation. Thexivor's scales had lost their bright color, now dull with stress and fear. We have lost 12 colony worlds and 6 homeworlds. Billions are dead. Our fleets are being destroyed faster than we can replace them. If this continues, the Council itself will fall. Kreshtal flickered with desperate light. The ancient record spoke of the swarm, but the solutions our ancestors used no longer work. The machines have evolved. They are smarter than before. We need help, said the 6-armed council member, a statement that would have been unthinkable months ago. Are there any species with technology we have not tried? Any allies we have not called? A long silence followed. Then a small voice spoke up, a junior representative from a species that rarely participated in debates. What about the humans? The chamber erupted in argument. Thexivor roared his displeasure. The humans? They abandoned us. They rejected the council. Why would we ask them for help? Because we are dying, the junior representative said quietly. Pride will not save us. If the humans have survived in the Outer Rim for 20 years, they must have something. Maybe they know something we do not. More arguing followed, but the mathematics were simple. The council was losing. They would all be dead within months if nothing changed. Finally, Thexvor admitted defeat. Send a distress signal to human space. Ask for their help. Promise them whatever they want if they will come to our aid. The message was sent and the council waited. Days passed with no response. Some members began to think the humans had not survived after all, or perhaps they simply did not care about the Council's fate. Then a reply came. It was brief and formal. The Human Federation has received the Galactic Council's distress call regarding the Devourer swarm. We will take this matter under advisement. Admiral Jae Hyun commands our response forces and will contact you shortly. Under advisement? Dex-4 raged. We are dying and they will take it under advisement? Who do these humans think they are? 3 days later, scanners detected ships approaching the battle zone where the Council fleet was making another desperate stand. The signatures were unfamiliar, but they were broadcasting human identification codes. What appeared was unlike anything the Council had ever seen. Human warships emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. They were larger than Council vessels but somehow more graceful. Their hulls were dark and sleek, covered in technology that seemed to shimmer and shift. There were hundreds of them, maybe thousands, all moving with precision that seemed impossible for organic crews. Admiral Dalrix stared at his sensors in disbelief. Are those truly human vessels? They are reading power outputs far beyond anything in our fleet. How is this possible? A communication channel opened. A human man appeared on the screen, wearing a uniform that marked him as high-ranking military. His name tag identified him as Admiral Jae Hyun. Council Fleet, this is Admiral Jae Hyun of the Human Federation Navy. We have received your distress call and are here to assist. Please transmit all data you have on the Devourer swarm and pull your vessels back to defensive positions. Dalrix felt his pride burn. Admiral, we appreciate your assistance, but the Council fleet will not retreat. We are making our stand here. Jae Hyun's expression did not change. Admiral Dalrix, with respect, your weapons are not effective against the swarm. You are losing ships for no gain. Pull back and let us handle the initial engagement. We have been preparing for this. Preparing? Dalrix asked. How could you prepare for the swarm? They have not been seen in 50,000 years. The records existed, Jae Hyun said simply. We read them when we were council members. We believed the swarm would return someday, so we prepared. Before Dalrix could respond, the swarm appeared. Trillions of mechanical units flowing like a dark river through space, heading straight for the council fleet. The human ships moved forward to meet them. What followed was unlike any battle the council had ever witnessed. Human weapons fired beams of energy that did not simply destroy swarm units but disrupted their ability to coordinate. Where council ships had to destroy every single machine, human weapons took out thousands at once by targeting their communication systems. Tactical Officer Sora coordinated the assault from the human flagship. Her voice was calm and professional as she directed the fleet with precision that seemed superhuman. Wing 7, focus fire on coordinates Alpha 9. Wing 12, deploy disruption field at Beta 7. All wings, maintain formation and rotate fire patterns every 30 seconds. The swarm tried to adapt, but the humans were ready. Every time the machines changed tactics, the human fleet shifted to counter them. Ships moved in patterns that looked random, but were actually calculated to confuse the swarm's coordination systems. A human pilot named Daejung led a squadron of small fighters that dove into the heart of the swarm, deploying devices that created fields of interference. The machines tried to swarm his ships, but the fighters were too fast, too maneuverable. They danced through the enemy ranks, sowing chaos wherever they went. Engineer Yuna monitored the weapon systems from the flagship's engineering deck. Admiral, the swarm is trying to adapt to our disruption frequencies. Shifting to pattern Delta 7, confirmed, Jae Hyun replied. All ships switched to pattern Delta 7. The entire human fleet changed weapons frequency in perfect unison, and the swarm's attempted adaptation failed. More machines fell dead in space, their coordination destroyed. Within hours, the tide of battle turned. The swarm, which had seemed unstoppable against council forces, was being pushed back by the human fleet. Not destroyed completely, but disrupted enough that they began to retreat, seeking easier targets. Admiral Dalrix watched from his flagship in stunned silence. The human fleet had done in hours what the council had failed to do in weeks. When the immediate threat passed, he opened a communication channel to Jae Hyun. Admiral, that was remarkable. Your weapons, your tactics, everything was beyond anything we expected. How did your species advance so far? Jae Hyun looked tired but satisfied. When we left the council, we stopped following the old ways. We experimented. We innovated. We took risks. Some experiments failed and we lost people learning what worked. But we learned. The Council's regulations and restrictions were meant to keep everyone safe and equal, but they also kept everyone from advancing. When we were free to try new things, we discovered that the impossible was only impossible because no one had tried hard enough. A scientist appeared beside Jae-hyun on the screen. Her name tag read Bo-young. The swarm is a coordinated intelligence. Your weapons try to destroy individual units, which is inefficient. We develop technology to disrupt their coordination instead. Without coordination, they are just machines. But how did you develop such technology so quickly? Dalrix asked. 20 years is not quickly, Bo-young replied. It only seems fast because the Council has not made a major technological advance in thousands of years. When you have 50,000 years of tradition, you stop questioning whether your methods are the best methods. You just follow tradition. Jae-hyun stood. We need to pursue the swarm before they attack another system. Council fleet, repair your vessels and stand ready. This battle is not over, but we will fight it together. As the human ships moved out in pursuit of the enemy, the Council fleet remained behind, every crew member trying to process what they had just witnessed. The humans had not just survived in the outer rim. They had thrived. They had advanced beyond anything the Council thought possible, and they had just saved the lives of billions. The war against the Devourer swarm lasted 3 months. With human assistance, the tide turned from desperate retreat to steady advance. The machines that had seemed unstoppable were pushed back system by system. Finally, the swarm fled back into the darkness between stars, leaving behind devastation, but also hope. The Council called for a meeting with human leadership. This time, they did not summon the humans to the Grand Chamber. Instead, the Council members came to human space, arriving as supplicants rather than as rulers. Admiral Jae-hyun met them, aboard the human flagship Indomitable, a vessel so large it made Council dreadnoughts look small by comparison. The ship's corridors were clean and efficient, lined with technology that the Council representatives could not identify. Holographic displays showed information in ways that seemed impossible. The ship itself hummed with power that their sensors could barely measure. In the conference room, the Council members gathered around a simple table. Gone were the elevated seats and grand displays of their chamber. Here, everyone sat as equals. Thexvor looked older than before. His scales faded and his movements slower. The war had aged all of them. Admiral Jae-hyun entered with several other humans. Scientist Bo-young carried data tablets. Commander Kyung-soo, who had coordinated ground defense operations, stood quietly in the corner. Captain Ji-woo, now promoted to fleet captain, took a seat at the table with calm confidence. Honored Council members, Jae-hyun began. You asked for this meeting. We are listening. Thexvor spoke first, his voice lacking its former arrogance. Admiral, the Council owes humanity a debt beyond measure. You saved us when we were facing extinction. We came here to thank you and to ask questions. Ask, Jae-hyun said simply. The questions came in a flood. How had humanity advanced so quickly? What technology did they possess? Where had they learned to fight the swarm? How many ships did they command? What resources did they control? Jae-hyun answered patiently, with Bo-young providing technical details when needed. They explained how human research, freed from Council restrictions, had exploded with innovation. They described the alliance they had built with younger species in the Outer Rim, sharing technology and knowledge in ways the Council never had. The Council kept knowledge to themselves, Bo-young explained. You shared only what you thought other species needed, always maintaining your advantage. We took a different approach. We shared everything with our allies. When you share knowledge freely, everyone advances together. Kreshtal, the Luminari representative, flickered with confused colors. But that means you lose your advantage. Why would you give away your technology? Bo-young smiled. Because when everyone is stronger, we are all safer. The Council tried to maintain control through superiority. We built strength through cooperation. Our allies did not help us because they feared us or needed us. They helped us because we were partners. Commander Kyung-soo added his perspective. The Council also forbade many types of research as too dangerous. Artificial intelligence, quantum weapons, genetic modification, faster-than-light communication. You said these things were too risky to explore. They are dangerous, Thexvor protested. Civilizations have fallen because of such technology. Yes, Kyung-soo agreed. And civilizations have also fallen because they refuse to advance. Danger is part of progress. The Council chose safety over advancement. We chose advancement and learned to manage the danger. Admiral Dalrix, who had witnessed the human fleet in battle, asked the question that bothered him most. Your ships, your weapons, your tactics, everything was coordinated perfectly. How do your crews achieve such precision? Captain Ji-woo answered this one. We use artificial intelligence to assist with coordination, not to replace our crews, but to help them. The Council forbids military AI, saying it is too dangerous. We developed AI systems that work with us, not for us. They process information faster than organic minds and help us make better decisions. But AI can become unstable, a council member protested. It can turn against its creators. So can any tool, Ji-woo replied calmly. But we learned to build safe AI through trial and error. Yes, we had failures. We lost ships and people learning what worked. But we accepted that risk as the price of progress. The council members sat in uncomfortable silence. Everything the humans said challenged 50,000 years of council wisdom. Yet the results spoke for themselves. Humanity had advanced further in 20 years than the council had in millennia. HFY finally asked the question they had all come to ask. Admiral Jae-hyun, would humanity consider rejoining the Galactic Council? We recognize now that we underestimated your species. We would offer you a senior position, equal status with the founding species. Access to all council resources and voting rights on all matters. Jae-hyun looked at the council members with something like pity. Honored members, I appreciate the offer. But no. Humanity will not be rejoining the council. Shock rippled through the council delegation. They had expected negotiation, perhaps demands for better terms. They had not expected a simple rejection. But why? Kreshtal asked. You could help rebuild the council, reform it from within. With your technology and our resources, we could create something better than before. Scientist Bo Young leaned forward. The problem is not resources or technology. The problem is the council's fundamental approach. You are built on hierarchy and tradition. The oldest species make the rules, and younger species follow them. Innovation is controlled and limited. Change happens slowly, if at all. She activated a holographic display showing the human territories and the surrounding systems. In the Outer Rim, we built something different. We call it the Federation. Every species has an equal vote regardless of age or size. Technology is shared freely. Research has no forbidden topics, only safety guidelines. When someone has a new idea, we test it instead of dismissing it. Admiral Jae-hyun continued. The council wanted us to walk the path you had already walked. Follow the rules you had created. Build what you had already built. But humanity was not meant to follow. We needed to find our own way. Your way is dangerous, HFY said quietly. You take risks that could destroy you. Yes, Jae-hyun agreed. But standing still is also dangerous, as the swarm proved. The council's ancient wisdom could not defeat them. Our new risky technology did. Commander Kyung-soo added, when we were council members, we had to ask permission for everything. Every research project needed approval. Every new ship design required review. Every tactical innovation was questioned and delayed. We were not trusted to make our own decisions. We were protecting you, HFY protested weakly. You were controlling us, Kyung-soo replied, not unkindly. Perhaps you meant well, but control is not protection. Trust is. The council members struggled to accept what they were hearing. Their entire civilization was built on principles the humans were rejecting. If humanity was right, then 50,000 years of council wisdom was wrong. Admiral Dalrix asked quietly, what will you do now? Will you at least maintain an alliance with the council? Jae-hyun considered this. We will help defend council space from the swarm if they return. We will maintain diplomatic relations and trade where mutually beneficial. But we will not rejoin as members. The Federation is our home now. Tell me about this Federation, Kreshtal asked. Who are your allies? Bo Young smiled and expanded the holographic display. It showed dozens of systems, many in regions the Council had written off as worthless. We have 17 member species so far. Most are young species that the Council rejected or ignored. Some are refugees from Council space who wanted something different. Together, we are building a civilization based on cooperation and innovation instead of hierarchy and tradition. You are welcome to visit our territories, Jae-hyun offered. See what we have built. Perhaps some Council species would be interested in joining us. We accept any species that shares our values of equality and progress. This suggestion caused alarm among the Council members. The idea that their own member species might leave to join the humans was terrifying, but they could not deny the appeal. The humans had created something that worked better than the Council system. The meeting ended with no agreements except to maintain diplomatic contact. As the Council delegation prepared to depart, Thexfor approached Jae-hyun privately. I am old, the Vrexian said quietly. I have led the Council for 3,000 years. I believed we were doing right, keeping the younger species safe, maintaining order in the galaxy. I am sure you believe that, Jae-hyun said gently. But you have shown me that safety and order are not the same as progress and freedom. The Council gave young species protection, but took away their ability to grow. I see that now. It is never too late to change, Jae-hyun offered. Thexivor made a sound like sad laughter. For a species as young as yours, perhaps, but the Council is ancient. We are set in our ways. I fear we cannot change even if we wanted to. He looked at the human admiral with respect. When you left 20 years ago, I thought you were fools. Children having a tantrum. I was wrong. You saw what we could not see. That sometimes the greatest wisdom is knowing when to walk away. As the Council ships departed for their own space, every member carried the same uncomfortable knowledge. The galaxy had changed, humanity had changed it, and the Council would never be the same again. 6 months after the war ended, the Galactic Council convened in their grand chamber. The massive seats remained the same. The ancient technology still displayed star maps across the walls. But something fundamental had changed. The confidence that once filled every word and gesture was gone, replaced by uncertainty and doubt. Thexfor called the session to order, his voice lacking its former authority. The Council recognizes that we face a choice. The galaxy is changing around us. We can either adapt or become irrelevant. The words hung in the air like a confession. For 50,000 years, the Council had been the center of galactic civilization. Now, for the first time, they questioned whether that would continue. Kreshtal presented a proposal that would have been unthinkable before humanity's departure. We should reform the Council structure. Give younger species equal voting rights. Remove restrictions on research and development. Share technology more freely. In other words, become more like the Human Federation. The debate that followed was fierce. Conservative Council members argued that their traditions had kept the peace for millennia. Progressive members pointed out that those same traditions had left them helpless against the swarm. Only human innovation had saved them. While the Council argued about internal reform, something more significant was happening across the galaxy. Word of the Human Federation had spread. Species that had felt constrained by Council regulations began to ask questions. What would it be like to research without restrictions? To govern themselves without ancient species looking over their shoulders? To build their own future instead of following someone else's path? A delegation from a younger Council species arrived at the border of human space, requesting entry. They were a people called the Kirishi, insect-like beings with compound eyes and delicate wings. They had been Council members for 200 years but had always felt like second-class citizens. Ambassador Tae-min, now elderly but still serving humanity in diplomatic roles, met with the Kirishi delegation aboard a human station. Age had given him wisdom, and his hair had turned white, but his eyes remained sharp and clear. The Kirishi representative, a being named Click Click, spoke through a translator. Ambassador Taemin, we have heard stories of the Human Federation, of equal membership and shared technology, of freedom to research and innovate without permission from ancient overlords. We wish to know if these stories are true. Taemin smiled warmly. They are true. In the Federation, every species has one vote regardless of age or size. Research is encouraged, not restricted. Technology is shared, not hoarded. We believe that civilization advances fastest when everyone is free to contribute their unique perspective. Click, Click's wings vibrated with emotion. The council tells us such freedom is dangerous, that younger species need guidance and protection. Protection can become a prison. Taemin replied gently. The council means well, but they mistake control for care. In the Federation, we trust our members to make their own decisions. Yes, sometimes those decisions lead to mistakes, but we believe the freedom to make mistakes is essential for growth. Chief Diplomat Yoonji joined the conversation, bringing data files about the Federation's structure and history. She was young and energetic, representing a generation of humans who had grown up entirely outside the council. We do not ask species to abandon their culture or traditions, Yoonji explained. We ask only that they share our values of equality, innovation, and mutual respect. Every member species brings something unique to the Federation. The Kirishi have biological knowledge that could benefit everyone. In the Council, you must keep such knowledge to yourselves or share it only with permission. In the Federation, you would be free to collaborate with anyone. The Kirishi delegation visited human worlds, seeing firsthand how the Federation operated. They toured research facilities where humans worked alongside a dozen different species, sharing ideas freely. They visited colonies where different species lived together without hierarchy. They saw young people of various species studying together, learning from each other without anyone claiming superiority. Most importantly, they saw innovation happening everywhere. New ships being designed, new technologies being tested, new ideas being explored without fear of rejection from ancient authorities. It was chaotic compared to the ordered structure of council space, but it was also alive with possibility. Click returned to council space and presented a formal request. The Kirishi wished to withdraw from the Galactic Council and apply for membership in the Human Federation. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Thexvor demanded to know why the Kirishi would make such a choice. We have protected you, guided you, given you access to technology and trade. Why would you abandon us? Click stood before the council, feeling small but speaking with courage. Because protection without trust is imprisonment. Because guidance without freedom is control. Because access to technology is not the same as the freedom to create technology. The council has given us much, but the Federation offers us something more valuable: the right to determine our own future. Over the following year, 3 more species left the council to join the Federation. Each departure weakened the council's authority and strengthened humanity's new alliance. The balance of power in the galaxy was shifting, and everyone could feel it. The council realized they faced an existential crisis. They called for one final meeting with human leadership, hoping to find a way to compete with the Federation's appeal, but they were not prepared for what humanity proposed. Ambassador Taemin returned to the council chamber one last time. He moved slowly now, using a walking stick for support. Beside him stood Yoonji, who would speak for humanity's future. Together they represented humanity's past and present. Honored council members, Yoonji began. You have asked us to explain how you can compete with the Federation. I am here to tell you that competition is not necessary. Instead, I offer you a different choice. She activated a holographic display showing both council space and Federation space. You can maintain the council as it is, watching as more species leave to join us. You can attempt to reform the council to be more like the Federation, or you can do something unprecedented. The council members leaned forward, curious despite themselves. You can dissolve the Galactic Council and join the Federation as equals. The chamber exploded with angry voices. The suggestion was unthinkable. The council was ancient, powerful, respected. How could they simply end thousands of years of history? Yoonji waited for the noise to die down. I understand this is difficult to consider. But think about what the council has become. You are no longer the unquestioned leaders of the galaxy. Species are leaving to join us. Those who remain do so out of fear of change, not out of loyalty. Is this the legacy you want? Taemin spoke, his voice quiet but carrying authority earned through decades of service. When humanity left the council 20 years ago, we were afraid. We did not know if we would survive, but we also knew that staying meant accepting limits on what we could become. We chose the uncertain path of freedom over the safe path of submission. He looked at each council member in turn. Now we offer you the same choice. Join us as equals. Bring your knowledge, your resources, your wisdom, but come as partners, not as rulers. Together we can build something greater than either the Council or the Federation alone. The debate lasted for months. Conservative council members argued that dissolving the council would mean abandoning their responsibility to maintain order. Progressive members pointed out that their current approach was already failing. Species were leaving anyway. At least by joining the Federation voluntarily, they could help shape its future. Finally, HFY called for a vote. The question was simple. Should the Galactic Council dissolve and its member species be invited to join the Human Federation as equal partners? The vote was close, but it passed. After 50,000 years, the Galactic Council would end not with war or collapse, but with a choice to try something new. The transition took years to complete. Council systems had to be integrated with Federation networks. Laws and regulations had to be harmonized. Species that had never been equals had to learn to work together without hierarchy. It was difficult and chaotic and sometimes frustrating, but it worked. 5 years after the Council's dissolution, the Federation included 47 member species. New technologies emerged from collaborative research projects. Younger species brought fresh perspectives that challenged ancient assumptions. Older species shared knowledge that accelerated development. The entire galaxy seemed to be advancing faster than ever before. Admiral Jae Hyun, now retired but still respected, stood on the observation deck of a new station, built at what used to be the border between Council space and human space. Now there was no border, just one civilization built on principles of equality and innovation. Beside him stood a young Vrexian officer named HFY, grandson of the former Council elder. The young Vrexian wore a Federation uniform and served as an engineer on a joint human-Vrexian research vessel. "My grandfather spoke of you often before he died," HFY said. "He said you taught the Council their most important lesson. That wisdom is not measured by age, but by the willingness to change." Jae Hyun smiled. "Your grandfather was a good leader.